You done messed up, NFL, because you gave the wrong team an advantage because the Broncos don't even need that much help, and you just passed a bunch of rules that are disproportionately going to help a team that already made the playoffs last year and fixed every hole that we had on this team. We've got a ton of new rules the NFL passed, how they're actually helping the Denver Broncos, why Sean Payton voted for certain ones and voted against other ones, and how all that panned out. We're going to break that down and more in the video. If you're new to the channel, I'm a diehard Denver Broncos fan named Ben, and it helps me in the algorithm out a ton if you like the Broncos, if you would smash that like and subscribe button. Sean Payton was asked about how he was feeling about a bunch of these rule changes, and it's pretty cool to see that every single thing that he advocated ended up passing when the NFL owners met and voted, and that's just a fantastic place to be in. For the first rule that came up, he was asked, and the NFL owners were asked to consider, hey, once the playoffs have been set, should they reseed after that first round? So if you are the Carolina Panthers and you end up winning your division with 9 wins and some upset happens, like should you continue to host home games even if you have not won your division? And Sean Payton adamantly said, no, I don't want any reseeding. And to me, if I was in a division with Patrick Mahomes and with Jim Harbaugh, I would be like, of course I want a reseeding because I need as many home games as possible. And so for me, the fact that Sean Payton was like, nope, the division winner deserves a home game, even if they have a way worse record in the second round, is the ultimate flex and sign of confidence that Sean Payton's not beating around the bush here. He's saying, no, I'm not worried about being a wild card team. I'm going to win the AFC West next year, so let's keep giving the division winners home games. So that's the first rule that continued. There will be no reseeding of the NFL playoffs once that happens. Next big thing is a massive thing, and another thing that Sean Payton wanted is in NFL overtime, the regular season now, both teams will have a chance to get the ball. It's not just whoever gets the ball first and goes down. If they score a touchdown, the game ends. It's always so confusing to describe that to my wife and kids, and I think it's a crazy advantage for the Broncos and something that Sean Payton wanted. He's like, hey, I want to be able to game plan and I want to be able to have my best shot of winning. And so this is cool that both teams are going to have a chance. Overtime, 10 minutes. We remember last year the Broncos were in the overtime game that they lost to the Cincinnati Bengals. And it felt like in that overtime period, we kind of like got out of our normal routine and like how you plan for it. Sean Payton was playing for the tie a little bit there because of making the playoffs, and it was just a really weird thing. And I think he doesn't want to have to worry about weird things. So that'll change how we watch the NFL next year. Both teams will have a chance to get the ball. And now that we have Bo Nix, like you're going to want the ball. You are not going to want to lose in overtime just because your defense let a touchdown in, although we already had one of the best defenses in the league and then filled it with all pros. So either way, we're in fantastic shape there. But here is where we are getting the first rule that I think is going to be disproportionately an advantage to your 2-time Pro Bowl returner, Marvin Mims. And that is going to be that with this new NFL kickoff, they're still doing the weird janky thing where like the players are lined up like on the line of scrimmage and the kicker's back there. But now if it is a touchback, if it goes into the end zone, rather than coming out to the 30-yard line, it is going to go out to the 35-yard line. So that's a much bigger penalty if you kick it into the end zone or out of the end zone. And so teams are going to definitely be kicking it to the returner. And so we actually had our special teams coordinator, Darren Rizzi, be one of the ones out there as the representative for this rule. So how good is this? Like that our Denver Broncos coach is the one saying this is the rule that should change, and he wouldn't be advocating for it unless it was a crazy advantage for us. And in his presentation to the entire league, he said, we think this will increase the number of kick returns that we see up to 70% a game. And you really can't think of someone you would rather have do that than Marvin Mims, who's like in space, just different with the ball. Trying not to remember that we lost this game and let the Dolphins score 70 on us. But this guy in space is absolutely dangerous. And the more times we get him the ball in space, it is just going to be bad news for anyone who is kicking to him. And now they're going to have to choose, hey, do we give Bo Nix in this offense that's humming the ball on the 35, or do we gamble and kick it to Marvin Mims? And that's just like a hard spot to be if you're defense and trying to pick your poison there. When we were growing up, remember a touchback brought you out to the 20-yard line. Now it's bringing you out to the 35. So you're either giving Bo and this offense a 15-yard head start, or you're kicking to a 2-time Pro Bowler who in space is wildly talented. Next rule that passed, we are not going to have games slow down because of a chain gang anymore, measuring first downs. They're employing new artificial intelligence technology using Sony cameras to determine where the ball goes. We saw that I think the Kansas City Chiefs would have lost that playoff game to the Buffalo Bills had a couple times it looked like Josh Allen had easily gotten the first down. They kept spotting it back and moving it. It was just a really antiquated thing when you can easily identify where the ball was using AI, and I think this will help us, and it's going to take away all of that gray area with Patrick Mahomes in particular. So another thing that is a crazy help to us. Another thing that I'm not actually hearing talked about a ton, and this is scouting credentials once you are entering into the playoffs. I think you would be hard-pressed to find a team that changed what it's done based on its opponent more than the Denver Broncos. Do you remember when Audric Estime became the bell cow back in our game against the Kansas City Chiefs? And then when we played the Buffalo Bills, he didn't even get a single touch or even get to wear a jersey and get suited up. Sean Payton changes his player personnel. He changes the packages. Do you remember when we rolled out and played the Saints and you had Bo Nix running the ball all of the time and doing designed runs all the time, and then other times where he didn't even have a single yard rushing the ball? Sean Payton morphs this team more than any other team, other than maybe a Kyle Shanahan offense. So he scouts like a madman. He is crazy about that. So what the NFL is now allowing is that in week 17 and 18, you are able to just absolutely scout your opponents in a way that you're not able to do during the regular season. And I think there's not going to be a team who pounces on this and takes advantage of it more than the team here who can just throw crazy money. Like you look at the Cincinnati Bengals, who have zero cash in that entire organization. They can't even, they walk across a street from their practice field to the game day facility. It's just abysmal, where we'll fly private jets to different places. And so you're looking week 17 and 18, you can start to send scouts, and you get basically a leg up on scouting teams in your division or in your conference ahead of the playoffs kicking off. And that's one here that kind of has snuck out under the radar. And who's going to take advantage of that most? The team who really utilizes studying film more than anyone else, and the team who has money to pay for scouts to go and advance scout an opponent. So I think this is going to be a crazy, crazy advantage for your Denver Broncos. And then we talked about the fact that Darren Rizzi was the one presenting this new kickoff change rule to the NFL. Is all you need to know, that this is what the Broncos wanted, and we got every single thing that we wanted, and that is fantastic. A couple other advanced analytics things that came across today that I thought were really interesting was just seeing that the Denver Broncos were one of the teams that had the fewest number of runs that were 20 yards or more from running backs in 2024, and that is not a stat that you want to see continue. I think already moving into next year, now that we have a tight end who is a weapon and a target, you're going to see that number jump up. But in addition to that, what we're seeing here is that this is an A+ rated draft class that PFF went through and said, we have never rated a draft class of running backs this highly before, that we're seeing multiple starters in here. And so that's just a fantastic time. You see the last piece of the puzzle here for the Denver Broncos to go from good to great, I think, is to get this stat in our rearview mirror, meaning next year, we should lead the league when it comes to 20-yard runs from running backs, not be one of the teams who had less than 5 of those throughout an entire NFL season. And I think you will see it because there are so many shots at the hoop, if you will, there coming up in this year's NFL draft. And then the last piece of good news here that we get is that we've been hearing a lot that the Indianapolis Colts, the Chargers, and the Denver Broncos are most likely the ones who would draft a tight end in this year's NFL draft. The Chargers being behind us, the Colts being up in front of us, and now there are a ton of rumors out there that the Colts want an offensive lineman. With that pick, I think they're the 12th overall pick in the draft, which means that you're looking Tyler Warren or Colston Loveland still being on the board when the Broncos get there. Either way, what we want to happen is we want Jackson Dart, we want Shedeur Sanders, we want Ward all drafted in that top 15. The more offensive linemen that are drafted early, the more defensive linemen, we're in good shape there. It's allowing skill positions to fall to us, and I think that's exactly what's going to happen. It is a great time to be a Denver Broncos fan. We didn't need help, NFL, and y'all just done messed up helping a team that already made the playoffs and has fixed all of our problems, Broncos country. It's a great time to be alive, and we got a ton to believe in.